Hi everyone, I'm so pleased to be invited to speak to you today. These kind of events are filled with so much information and expertise, but I think they can benefit from hearing from sufferers, from people who have the lived experience. I've been invited to talk to you about skin neutrality and inclusivity and why these are two topics that I'm not only passionate about, but which I think should always be part of the conversation about skin and skin conditions. So a bit of an introduction to me. I'm Lex. I was diagnosed with rosacea at 21, which was 19 years ago. If you aren't aware of rosacea, it's a really common skin condition thought to affect 1 in 10 people. It's an inflammatory skin condition that mainly affects the face. It presents as flushing, broken veins, some people have papules and pustules. Mine also causes burning, itching, swelling of the face. There's currently no cure, but it can be controlled with trigger management, lifestyle changes, skincare, etc. When I was first diagnosed, my GP was not much help. I had no one else to ask advice from, and the internet and social media was still in its infancy. I found some US-based forums where I could ask some questions and learn from others' mistakes, but I soon realised that I would have to become my own expert, that I would kind of have to figure it out on my own. So I threw myself into research. I read a lot, I tried a lot of things, and think I was still a little bit in denial about the reality of my situation. 11 years ago, I started talking about my skin online, and the response was huge. I had no idea that there were so many other people struggling and wanting help. I was overwhelmed by the questions and requests, but mostly I noticed that people just wanted to talk to other sufferers, that they just wanted to see other sufferers. A decade ago, there was no skin positivity movement, there were no brands using real skin in advertising, no media articles about rosacea. I realised that all of the experience that I'd fought for over the years could be useful to others. I realised that my website could be a port in the storm. So my website and social media platforms became the safe place that I wished that I'd had when I was first diagnosed. After having rosacea for 19 years, the majority of my adult life, I have had to do a lot of work, both internal and external. When people think of skin conditions, the immediate assumption is that skincare is the way to fix and cure. I understand the thinking, but rosacea, as well as many other skin conditions, needs a broader approach. It's a multifactorial condition which needs a multifactorial approach. The biggest changes that I've made have been internal, by which I mean psychological. Being told at 21 that I have an incurable skin condition that affects my face was a big blow. I felt embarrassed, isolated, and hopeless. I looked around me and saw no one else who looked like me. The early 2000s was a bit of a horror show of fat phobia, misogyny, and judgment of anyone who fell outside the very narrow ideals of beauty. Things are a little bit better now, but we still have a way to go. One of the main ways in which I think we are moving the needle is the online communities that have formed around skin conditions and visible differences. If someone is diagnosed with rosacea today, they can go online and not only find trusted and free information from dermatologists, doctors, estheticians, but also photos and accounts from other sufferers. I cannot stress enough to you how much it changed the way I see my own skin to be able to see faces that look like mine. Real people with real skin. To see other rosaceans living their lives, showing up online, being human with no shame or embarrassment. It sounds like such a small thing, but feeling excluded and by extension judged by the lack of representation can have a huge impact. The skin positivity community did a lot to help with representation and with rerouting some of the negative ways in which we view our skin. The simple premise of skin positivity is that there isn't one type of beauty, that skin with rosacea, acne, psoriasis, eczema is also beautiful and amazing. But I found myself more drawn towards a movement that evolved from skin positivity, and that's skin neutrality. I often speak to people who find the idea of loving their skin really hard, and I was one of them. The skin condition might be painful, uncomfortable, or result in negative treatment from those around them. And then, ironically, they feel excluded from the skin positivity community because they don't look at their skin with clappy hands happiness 24 hours a day. And then they end up feeling like they are somehow doing their skin condition wrong. For those people, skin neutrality is much easier to get their head around. So what is skin neutrality? In the simplest of terms, skin neutrality is the belief that skin is just skin. It's there to do a job and shouldn't have any moral or superficial judgments attached to it. It's not there to be pretty. Its purpose is not to be perfectly smooth, hairless, poreless, with no lines or uneven tone. It has a function which should be the focus of any attention on the skin. By viewing your skin with neutrality, it's easy to see what it needs, how you can help it. But it also means that you try and detach the idea of judgment and worth from it. If any of you watching have ever had a skin condition or suffer with one now, I know that you'll know that this is much harder than it sounds. I have experienced so many emotions about my skin over the years: hatred, embarrassment, shame, anxiety, depression, hopelessness. But with skin neutrality, I can accept whatever I believe about my skin moment to moment with no opinion attached, no moral judgments. I'm just an interested party mindfully observing my skin as it changes. It accepts that emotions and opinions about your skin will exist. Some days will be easier than others, some days will be incredibly hard. But skin neutrality teaches us that we should embrace all of those feelings without taking them as facts, without forcing positivity, without feeling like a fraud if you do have days when things are harder. Skin neutrality is not about ignoring your skin's needs. It's not about blindly accepting your skin condition and doing nothing about it. Obviously, my rosacea needs to be monitored so I can keep track of triggers and keep an eye on my skin health overall. But I've realised that there are ways to do this that don't involve negative and hurtful self-talk. In the past, I would think, oh God, my skin has flared up. It's definitely because of that glass of red wine last night. I'm such an idiot. I can't believe that I've done this again. I look disgusting. I only have myself to blame. I would never ever think this about another human being, let alone say it to them. So why did I think it was helpful to say this to myself? Talking to myself this way, blaming myself, only caused me more stress and anxiety. And guess what happens to my skin and my rosacea when I feel stressed and anxious? Shining a light on these negative thoughts helps me to see them for what they are: learned behaviours that do more harm than good. With my skin neutrality hat on, I can still observe the changes in my skin, because this isn't about burying my head in the sand about my rosacea. And I can still try to get to the bottom of why my skin has changed, because we still need to be informed. But I can look at the whole situation with some healthy detachment and try to remove the judgment. So instead, I might think, my skin has flared up. From the context clues, I would guess that it's from the red wine last night. But I had a really nice time and I wanted to share a bottle of wine with my husband, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's annoying, but I can use this knowledge to help inform my decisions going forward. Perhaps I'll skip the wine next time if I'm already feeling stressed, or my skin is already unhappy, or if I have a big meeting the next day and want my skin to be the best it can be. An important part of skin neutrality is realising that although my skin may change, and although my appearance is sometimes out of my control, my intrinsic worth is unchanged. Before, during and after a flare-up, I am still exactly the same person. I am still loved, I am still worthy of love, and I am so much more than my appearance. My personal motto or mantra is, your skin does not define you. In fact, it's the least interesting thing about you. This concept has been so freeing for me. For years and years, I obsessed about my skin. It was my first thought in the morning, running to the mirror to see if things were any worse or any better than they were the day before. It dominated every thought throughout my day, worrying if people were staring, what judgments they were making, poring over each decision I was making, wondering if they were making things worse or better. I would lie awake at night panicking that my skin would worsen overnight. It took over my entire life, and unsurprisingly, it didn't help at all. In fact, this obsessive analysis and self-judgment made me miserable, which made my skin miserable. So now I remind myself that my skin is one tiny part of a larger whole, that it's a part of me that I cannot change, that it doesn't deserve judgment or unkindness. It's not my enemy. It's not doing this to me because it hates me or because it's punishing me. It's trying to help me, to protect me, to educate me. Every flare-up is my skin saying, help, there's something happening here. We're a team. I wouldn't punish my dog for barking at a burglar and trying to protect me, so why look at my skin with animosity when it's just trying to help? I don't love or hate my skin. I just appreciate that it's doing a job. In the same way that I don't have any moral judgments or strong feelings either way about my liver or my eyelashes. They're there for a reason, and I can do whatever I can to help them along the way, but realistically, they're none of my business. By looking at my skin in this neutral and detached way, I find it so much easier to roll with the punches. My skin changes day to day. My skin is changing as I age. My skin might drastically change during the menopause, I have no idea. But I feel as though I'm better prepared for changes and fluctuations because I don't attach worth to or hang my happiness on my appearance. I'm not here to tell you that having a neutral stance to your appearance is easy or something that everyone can accept. But I think as professionals working in this industry, it's something that you all have the ability to push the needle on. Skin neutrality helps us to remove the idea that skin should look or behave a certain way, that your skin is wrong or needs fixing if it doesn't look the way that we've been told skin should look. A practical example of this is from a woman I follow whose severe acne as a teenager has left her with quite a lot of scarring on her cheeks and forehead. And every time she sees her dermatologist, the doctor brings up possible treatments to reduce or remove her scarring. Every time she goes. She hasn't asked for that, she hasn't mentioned being unhappy with her scarring, and it's not something that's causing an issue for her skin health. So she can't understand why it's being brought up over and over, even when she said she's not interested. To her, it's a judgment that her skin doesn't look as it should aesthetically, and therefore contains an inherent judgment on her for not fixing it. And it upsets her. This example is not to be taken as an attack. I know that many professionals would say they're just trying to help and are offering treatments the patient might not know exist. I'm just trying to ask what message is being sent with suggestions like these. Is the suggestion causing more harm to an already vulnerable patient? Obviously, there are lots of people who might want these treatments and would be open to these conversations, but perhaps a gentle, patient-led approach would be best. Making all of the options available and equally weighted, including the treatment option that focuses on promoting skin health and nothing more. I think another way the industry can help is also being aware of the content that we share online. I understand how professionals in the skin industry are often judged on their results, some of which are seen on their social media and website. So I understand the pressure to share the great results, the clients with stereotypical healthy skin, smooth, no blemishes, tiny pores, glowy, even tone. Because understandably, you want to present your skills and business in the best light. But could that be putting off potential clients? For every person who looks and sees those results and is immediately sold, there is another person who looks like me and feels excluded. I look at a feed of skin that I could never achieve, even with all the treatments and time and money in the world. And I don't find that feed aspirational. To be honest, I assume that that business either cannot or won't treat people who look like me. I would never book in for a treatment with a company who offered no proof that they understand my specific skin concern, whether that's because that proof doesn't exist or because they don't think that it looks aesthetically pleasing on the grid. That's what I assume. One of the biggest shifts in my mindset about my skin was unfollowing any social media accounts that only promoted one idea of beauty, unfollowing anyone who used filters and Facetune, unfollowing brands who only use real skin as a tick box marketing exercise. Instead, I filled my feeds with people sharing their skin, sharing their stories, showing that life goes on regardless of your skin, that life is good no matter what your skin looks like. By curating a diverse feed, your own and those you follow, you expand your horizons on what is achievable, what is healthy, what is normal. And I think that goes for professionals in this field as well. You have an opportunity to represent everyone, to battle the stigma, to educate those who might not know about atypical skin. Social media is such a powerful tool and one that can make a huge difference with small changes. A final way that the industry could help battle the stigma of skin conditions is a simple thing like removing moral judgment language from our vocabulary. Bad skin, good skin. These are so ingrained in our conversations, but when we dig down into them, they aren't nice things to hear about yourself, especially when you have a skin condition that has no cure. Bad skin is a label that I am not willing to wear for the rest of my life, when the scoring cards are already stacked against me. I don't have bad skin. I actually have incredibly healthy, happy skin for someone with rosacea. I have skin that is unrecognisable from the skin I had when I was first diagnosed. To others looking at me who are uninformed, my skin might look like bad skin to them, but I feel like that education is what's needed. Healthy skin is the goal for everyone. So removing those judgy words from the equation is an easy, tangible change that I think will make a difference. We have the power to change the conversation and empower people to view their skin in a kinder and more empathetic way. And I believe it starts with small changes like these. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me talk about this topic, and thank you to Jen for creating this space for us all to come together to learn and for inviting me to speak.